good to go?
I believe, yes, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. Good afternoon once again, everyone. Warm welcome to all of you. It's really an honor to be here among you guys, and really my lots of salams to Bangladesh and nice being among you guys. Sayed started for a company which is providing robotics and the fields of our held and data in when its research when business side to take is one of the most important automation to learn more. Take more of your time. So
Will introduce you. Like to we are having we have so a little research in order to get work in any of these. Others are contributing. Create something action, like pure technical discussion about the specific Duffman hours here. Let's say we
Recording stopped.
release wireless sensor there. This is so um KAIST, in file, what are the survey articles of um, try to do these 50 article and from a top journal, like try to challenges and future research forward to studies these all, so you can take works and start this. And after, whether this specific field for you or not, or even if it's of your interest or not, then for the literature review, try to make a plan as well, that if you start studying even 8 to 10 survey articles, then you will start reading and understanding each and every line. There's a possibility you will spend 1 week for one article, and that will be like few months just for studying surveys, which is not a good approach. So try to make a plan that what exactly you want it for. Let's say you need to consider deadlines. For masters, it could be different. You need to submit your thesis within 18 months. So the pathway is a different thing. For PhD, that's different because you have to submit your thesis within 3 years, 4 years, depending on where you are doing PhD. So try to consider deadlines, that what is your deadline, and then make your goal clear according to these deadlines. For example, if you have to submit your thesis within 18 months, then you have to make sure that your literature review part should not be more than 3 months. So at least you should be able to find a research problem within these 3 months. Because for masters, you just need one research problem in majority of the cases. Sometimes you need more, but usually you need just one research problem. For PhD, you need 3 to 4 or 5 research problems. So for PhD literature, you can be a bit more, let's say for 5 months, 6 months, depending upon what is your requirement and what sort of PhD you are doing, whether it's practical or practical research or simulation oriented research or theoretical research. And then give a fixed amount of time every day. Like make a schedule that you want to study this specific amount of time doing literature review for your field, so that it becomes your habit. So you don't have to do substantial amount of effort to get up again and again at the same time. So and don't hesitate
Recording
in reading.
stopped.
Make it your habit. If you are hesitant in reading, that will be an issue. Normally, when people start doing literature review, it's hard for them to read, let's say, even few pages a day. But when you keep on doing it again and again and again, it will become easy for you. So don't hesitate in reading. Then just a small breakdown that what can be done, or what's the pathway further. So this is just a generic breakdown. You can do it according to yourself. Let's say for the first week, you can say
Recording
that
in
if you want
progress.
to gather all the references, let's say 400, 500 references for that specific direction, then you will shortlist 20 to 30 references and try to study and understand their contribution, not the technical part, and like not the technical theoretical part or the simulations part. Just try to understand what people are doing. Then you can take 4 to 5 articles out of these 20 to 30 articles, and then find out that these are the 4 to 5 top articles from the top journals, and then try to understand each and everything of these 4 to 5 articles to see what can be done, or to figure out that what are the research problems in there. And then sorry from there, pick 2 to 3 references for your implementation work. You will implement these 3 references or 2 references and try to enhance your work, enhance their work to produce your own good quality work. And then you will carry out comparison with them as well. And then if you're doing something very big, like you're comparing with some transaction article, just 1 or 2 references would serve as your base paper, and you will carry out comparison with them. And then you move forward towards proposing your approach or your technical idea. So then these are the discussions still, like for the literature review. Now, how to find and analyze researchers. Previously I discussed that you need to find out who are the top researchers in your field, so you keep yourself up to date with them. Let's say if you want to study about blockchain, you need to know who are working in a specific domain. You need to study about differential privacy. You need to study about cognitive radio networks. You need to see who are the top people in that specific field and what they are working over. So, but the first
Recording
step is to
stopped.
find out who are the top people in that specific field. So, how to analyze researchers or how to analyze research profiles. So, first, a disclaimer that this is not a fixed criteria, and it will give you some good insights. And this is more relevant to our field of, let's say, computer science, electrical engineering, or similar engineering field, but it's not a fixed criteria. So you cannot use this criteria for all the fields.
Recording in
because
progress.
I'm from computer science and from electrical engineering. So my whole discussion will be a bit more oriented toward that, but it's not a fixed criteria for every field. So for figuring out some of the top researchers, we need to check their DBLB profile. DBLB profile is basically like where all the articles and transactions, like everything is ranked. So it's just like a database for the researchers working in, let's say, computer science or some other similar field, electrical engineering and engineering. Then you need to check their Google Scholar profile. I'll discuss about all these things in detail. That what to check in these specific profiles. Then check their web page as well. So from the perspective of DBLP profile, if you open DBLP and you write the name of any researcher that you think of, the list of articles appears over, and you can check the articles. What you have to look for, you have to look for the articles which are published in, let's say, Transactions or some of the top ranked journals. Transaction are like, could be IEEE Transaction, ACM Transactions. Try to go for these two, not for, there are some other journals whose transactions are not very good, but they name their journals as Transactions. So try to go search for IEEE and ACM Transaction and some other transaction from certain other well-reputed publishers. And then try to check the articles which these researchers are publishing in top journals such as IEEE Communication Service, JNCA, IoT Journal, JBHI, and certain other, like it varies according to the field, but you need to know that what exactly are the top research journals of your field. In the previous talk, I've discussed these things in very much detail. That's why I'm just keeping this short from the journal's perspective, otherwise it would be repetitive. So you need to find out top ranked journals of your field and try to see which researchers are publishing in these transactions in these journals, and try to check the top conferences of your field as well and see which researchers are publishing.
Recording
so
stopped.
DBLP So the DBLV profile is basically will give you a brief insight that where a researcher is publishing
Recording in
and whether
progress.
it's a good researcher in your field or not. So you can also check their co-authors, that who they are collaborating with. Sometimes people are collaborating with some of the top names such as Professor John Crowcroft or Dina Khatabi or these top names. So if someone is collaborating with top people, that means that he is a good researcher. So you can keep that person in your top researcher's name. Then you can analyze their Google Scholars profile, see their recent publications, what they are publishing recently. That will give you a recent idea about the research interest. Then check their highly cited article. A highly cited article means that which of the articles have been cited the maximum times. So study the top outcomes of which means that this person has the best outcome. This is the best outcome of the specific researcher. Don't get impressed by the citations. That's not just the only criteria to judge quality of a research paper, but it's one of the criteria definitely. So then you can also analyze their personal web page as well.
Recording
Let's say
stopped.
how many awards
Recording
or
in
recognitions they are
progress.
doing, what are their editorial positions. For example, if some person is editor-in-chief of IEEE Transaction on Wireless Communication or IEEE Transaction on Communication or IEEE Transaction on Smart Grid, then it means he's a very good researcher, because editors are editorship is a very prestigious field. So editor-in-chief is a highly noble, you can say, position. So you can check their editorial positions. You can see which books they have published. That will give you an idea of how expert that person is in that specific direction. You can see what projects they are like working over. You can also check what are the grants they are currently working over, like how many grants they have, in which specific topic they have grant. That will give you an idea that whether a
Recording
specific
stopped.
topic is good or not, whether you should continue it or not. And check their students and check the profile of their students, that what their students are doing. Like some of the students have been graduated,
Recording in
what they are
progress.
doing, what's their profiles. So then these are the things how to analyze profile of a researcher. Then how to study a research paper. If there's any questions till now, you people can ask me up. It's all good. Just see if there's any questions till now. I guess there's no question. Okay. So okay, we'll move to a discussion further. So let's discuss about how to study a research paper. This is my approach, that how I try to study research papers. So first of all, you need to stay positive. Let's say if you have started research recently, it will be hard for you to study a large amount of literature all of a sudden. But you need to stay positive. It can take hours. It can even take days to study a single research paper. You can feel bored. That's fine. That's a normal thing. We all have a similar brain. So just stay positive and try to reduce the habit of reading blog posts. What we normally do, let's say if we want to study about some new field, some new direction, uh, instead of studying research papers, we try to study it from like random posts from internet, like from a random website. So it's not a good approach, because we don't know who is writing this specific blog. So try to reduce the habit of studying blog posts unless it's from some top ranked researcher. Let's say if Professor Dina Khatabi is writing some blog post, then you should definitely study that up, or the interview of a specific researcher in on a specific field. Find out top journals of your field. That what are the best journals, and so that you should always study the best outcomes, not the garbage. You can check the your fields at SciMag, like Scientific Magazine, or JR, like JR list as well. So try to get insights that what are the top journals of your field. Make a goal that what exactly you want to extract from the article. Like you want to understand the algorithm, or you want to understand the problem, or what exactly is the real reason behind your, you can say, studying of this article, or you just want to get familiar with the field. So make sure you make you can say precise goal that what you want to extract from this studying. Then find a landmark paper if they are interesting. Like first, if you want to study about a field, make sure you study the basic article. Landmark papers means, let's say if you want to study about blockchain, you can study the article of white paper of Satoshi Nakamoto. Like if it's interesting, sometimes the landmark papers or the base papers are very boring or very theoretical that we cannot extract anything out of them. So in that case, just try to start from studying survey papers first. If you are going to study a technical article, what I personally follow or what I usually recommend is like read and check the title to make sure what exactly is your goal. If you want to study a technical article, your goal should be different. Studying a survey article, the goal should be different. So try to read the abstract and visualize things that what should have been carried out in this article after on. So to get an idea that what exactly you will be presented with and what you will be able to extract from this article. Then what I personally do after, or at least I try to do in certain cases, that after reading abstract, I try to go to conclusion and to find out that whether the abstract and conclusion is coherent or not. For good journals, for good transaction, for good venues, it's fine. But for some random journals or some not good ranked journals, sometimes people start to work about abstract in a different way and the conclusions are completely different. So it makes, if these things are different, it gives an idea that the research is not very worthy to read, but you can still give it a go. Then the step two, get back to introduction. Like after reading the abstract and conclusion, get back to the introduction and try to study in deeply. Like you can check the related work section. You can skip related work if you are already familiar with the related work. Like let's say you have studied a lot of survey articles for that field, and you don't want to study about these things again and again, so you can skip it up. But it depends. Like if you don't need references, then you can skip. Otherwise, it's good to read related work as well. Then go to the system model or the problem formulation or the adversary model. Try to study these things in detail, that what exactly they are presenting, and try to make notes of them. That what are their adversary model, what are their design goals. Try to read the description of figures and tables, and then study if you are more interested about these things. And skim through the solution. Like do not try to understand the theoretical contribution or the equations in the first go. Like don't try understanding the mathematics straight away. Try to figure out what they are doing and then check their results in the evaluation section, performance evaluation section. If they have given some code, try to study that up as well. And just try to run the code at this stage. Like this is just when you want to study one article, so you don't go into mathematics from the first go unless it's mandatory. And then afterwards, in the third step, let's say if you want to extract something further, so then you should be going to this article again and again. Let's say if you have selected that article as your base paper, then you can try to understand each and everything. Then afterwards, make sure to make notes, and don't, especially if you are doing your PhD or if you are doing your masters, don't just say that I'll memorize it. You will not. You will forget it if after a day or two or 1 week or a month. So if you make notes of the thing that you are reading, it will be in your memory at least for a longer time, and you can get back to your notes anytime you want to. Like so you don't have to study the whole article again to extract just one point. Make notes even if it's only one paragraph, so it will give you good insight. Try to teach it to someone else, or at least discuss generally. Let's say if you have studied an article, you can discuss it with your friends, your colleagues, your supervisor, or if the best case scenario is with some expert, let's say who is your supervisor, and try to understand the mathematics if required. Like if you want to say that this article is your base article, and you want to break the mathematics and learn it up and improve this article further, then you can try learning different mathematical tools, depending on what sort of mathematics or theoretical contribution is carried out in the specific article. Let's say if someone has carried out the probabilistic analysis, so studying about any other random, let's say random matrix theory is not going to help you out. So try to study the specific mathematics, the field of that specific mathematics which has been covered in that article. So type of, I'll just conclude with like some basic type of publications and some concluding words. So there are two types of publication: open access journals and the subscription based journal. Open access journals are open to all. They charge a very huge amount of money if you want to publish over there. Their reviewing process is a bit quick, some cases very quick, but there are certain issues related with these like open access journals as well. Let's say there are multiple opinions among the scientific community. I'm not saying that all open access journals are bad or like they're not good, one should not be publishing, but there are multiple opinions. There are some of the very good researchers, they try not to publish in these open access journals. Because of their reviewing process is very quick, sometimes they compromise the quality. Even if you see the journals which have very good impact factor and have a very less review time, let's say 2 weeks. Sometimes such articles gets published over there which are not of the quality that specific journal. So and even some of the top ranked journals in computer science, electrical engineering, they are not open access. Let's say in computer science, all the transactions, they are not open access from IEEE. Then the survey journals, communication surveys, Asian community surveys, so these are not open access journals. So and even Clarivate identified certain open access journals as predatory journals. Not all, but certain are ranked as predatory journals according to Clarivate, which is the body which indexes all these things. Then there are subscription-based journals. These are the limited access journals, like only subscribers can access the article which are published. They do not charge a single penny to you. Like you can publish your article free of cost. Then majority of the top ranked journals of a specific field are usually subscription-based journals. There are certain issues associated with them as well, like they have very long review process. Most of the time, their review process is very strict. Like reviewers are usually given 40 days, 2 months to review a single article. So they have adequate amount of time to find out flaws in that specific article and do a good scrutiny that whether that specific article belongs to the journal or not, whether it's of good quality or not. So I'm not saying that there is no compromised article or we can say no article which is of bad quality subscription-based journal. Exceptions are always there, but generically subscription-based journals publish more quality work as compared to open access journals. So it's highly recommended that we should try to go for subscription-based journals because they are free and they publish good quality works as well. Now, what are the do's and don'ts? Do's are published in reputed journals. You can check the impact factor of a journal from the rank. Yeah.
Sir, I have a question.
Yes.
So it's really good to hear from you. And my question is actually some students, those who are really in a hurry to go in the abroad for the for higher studies. So as the open access journal, they're quicker the review process, and the subscription journal it takes time. So what they will which sector they will choose to have a quick research work for publication for the new students, those who are going to appear in the higher studies in abroad. So suppose for myself, if I want to go, I have finished my master's and I want to go for PhD. So I need 4 or 5 more research papers. Should I go for the subscription or in the open access, something like that?
First of all, I just want to add one thing over here that research papers are not compulsory to get scholarship. Like one can get a scholarship even without a research paper. I have seen a lot of such cases where people get the scholarship of PhD right after their bachelor's, even without any single research paper. So it's not compulsory to get a research paper. And secondly, if you go for if you try to contact some you can say good researchers of your field, they don't care about articles much. They care about what sort of quality work has been carried out in your previous you can say degree or in your previous research. If you are like able to convince them that you can do good quality research, they'll recruit you even without any research paper. And even if you say that you have got a research article and it's not published yet, it's fine. They will they can ask you to send your article, that what you have done, and they can easily assess the quality. And secondly, you can upload your article on Arxif or IEEE repository, like certain repositories where you can showcase your article, that this article has been submitted to that specific journal. So this is the case that if you have done good research, I would highly recommend to publish in subscription-based journals, not the open access journals. That's not a good option. At least I would personally never suggest anyone to go for as an open access journal straight away. There's just one more case study that I would say, that if some student, like not just the open access journal, there are some very low ranked conferences as well. If some student has very high number of publications in these, let's say if someone has 10 articles in low ranked conferences and 10 articles in journals which are not even recognized or do not even have been or they are not even ranked as SCI journals, like they are not even indexed as well. So if someone has like these 20 articles in these venues, what we do in our group or some of the researchers that I know, they try not to recruit that person. Like they will say that we don't want this sort of researcher in our field because we have to reshape his way of thinking of doing research. Because when you go to the top labs of your field, you will see that they are not running after papers. In some cases you will complete your PhD and you will hardly have 1 or 2 articles maximum. So they are not running, especially the good researchers, they are not running after the research papers. So they want it's better for them to take a student who has not done much research, so they can shape it accordingly. But a person who has done like 20-30 articles in some low ranked conferences or low ranked journals, then it's hard to shape their mindset because they have already done a subsequent amount of research. So I would recommend to publish in subscription based journals and in good impact factor. Even if you have one publication, it will be very easy for you to get scholarship. Instead of you have 5 publications in some non-ranked journals which are not indexed or which are from not very good publishers. So one publication, even one good ranked publication from IEEE journal will be sufficient to get your scholarship. Even you can get scholarship without that as well. But if you have that specific article, that will be a big plus.
Thank you, sir. Very insightful. I have another question. So, okay, if once I have done with my paper works, research works, all the plagiarism, so how do I know that yes, my research work is ready to go to submit in the subscription journal and ready to accept there? How do I know this that my paper is ready to submit there?
Usually, when we carry out research. Yeah.
Yes.
Usually, but when we carry out research, we try to carry out comparison with some of the recent state-of-the-art works from some good ranked journal. Let's say if you, just for the sake of example, if we say that, if someone says that I've invented a car that has got 3 wheels, so everyone will ask that the car with the 4 wheel has been invented. So if you want to do research in the cars, you need to make sure that the speed is good enough, that the accelerator and all the things that have been done in the research for the cars. You need to make sure your car is ahead of all these and all the cars that have been developed so far. But if you'll say that this thing is novel, nobody has a car with 3 wheels or 6 wheels, so nobody will believe you. So if you want to make sure that the research work that you have done is good enough, try to carry out a comparison with an article of that specific journal or a similar level journal where you want to publish your work. Let's say if you want to publish your work in IEEE transaction on smart grid or IEEE transaction on services computing, or IEEE TKD. So try to compare your work with some other work uh, published in a similar level of journal. Like if you want to compare, publish in some transaction of IEEE, try to make sure that the work that you are carrying out your comparison with is from another journal of IEEE at least or elsewhere at least. So when you make sure that your work is ahead of that specific work, that will improve your chances of getting accepted over there.
So thank you, sir, for your answers. Please carry on for the best.
Thank you so much.
You're okay, sir.
Yeah, and some of the do's and don'ts that I was discussing. So make sure to publish in well-ranked, reputed journals. Quality is more important than quantity that I've discussed earlier. Always give your 100% in the research and only publish when it's of the best quality. Like you can keep on improving, even if you get a rejection from a journal or conference, you can improve your work and you can try to enhance your work further according to a reviewer comment. Like nobody rejects the article saying that this article is not good enough. They usually give comments. Like reviewers give comments that you can enhance this specific thing in your work. You can enhance the theoretical aspect. You can enhance the comparison, or you can add more references. Like they give comments. They do not just directly reject your work. So try to improve your work by following the reviewer suggestion if it gets rejected. Then don't just publish for the sake of publication. Try to make sure that you are contributing to the scientific society, because some of the examples that I've discussed earlier, you never know when a specific article is going to hit the scientific society in a different manner, and maybe you can start a new field someday. And try to learn the process, because there's a complete process. Like if even if your research is very very good and you have not presented it in a good manner, um, it will be hard to get it published. Let's say if you have done a research of a level of IEEE transactions, and you are just presenting some what do you say, like some experimental results works, and you are not writing it properly. Even that article will not get published, because you are not presenting in the way required to that specific journal. Let's say for IEEE communication service, the write-up style is different. For IEEE transaction on smart grid, you only need to write 8 pages. You cannot not write more than 8 pages. So every journal or transaction has their own write-up style. So try to learn the process and never give up, because rejection is a part of process. We all get rejections from the journals. So some of the don'ts, like never publish in bogus journals, never publish in low-rank journals, never publish in predatory conferences, predatory journals, predatory publishers. You will find a list of all the predatory publishers and journals. And try not to publish in with low rank publisher. There are certain publishers which are low ranked. Try not to publish with them, and try to avoid publishing in open access journals. I'm not saying open access journals are bad. I'm not saying that it's not a good thing to publish over there, but we should try to publish more in the subscription based journals rather than open access. And the last thing is never give up. So that's all from my side. And thank you again for inviting me. If there are any questions, you can ask me. I'll be happy to answer and discuss. And you can even email me afterwards as well at munibmh1@gmail.com. Thank you so much.
Thank you to our keynote speaker, Honorable Hassan sir. Really appreciate your efforts for us. Actually, I really thank you again for the insightful session. Hope that everyone will be get benefited. So this is a question answer session. If anyone has any questions, ask. Lose this opportunity. You can ask in Bengali. I will translate it to our honorable sir. Anyone there? Any question? Feel free to ask. This is the chance. Okay, sir. If there is no question from the audience, I have one question actually. Lots of students and friends, I got asked about regarding IEEE journals, the difference between the IEEE access, IEEE transactions. So if they have a paper, so where should they publish the paper? Which one they should choose? The transaction, IEEE access. I just want to know the difference among them.
Um, IEEE is a publisher basically, and it has got a lot of journals under his umbrella. It could be like IEEE Access is one of the journal of the what do you say? I guess hundreds of journals of IEEE. I'm not 100% sure how many journals IEEE have, but let's assume 100. So IEEE Access is just one of the journal about all the journals that IEEE have. I guess IEEE has 171 journals or something. Um, mm, so IEEE Access is one of the journals. So if you want to publish your work, try to make sure that you publish in the specified journal. Let's say if you have contributed to something in the wireless communication, try to publish in the journals related to wireless communication. Let's say IEEE transaction on wireless communication, IEEE transaction on communication, IEEE transaction on networking, and if you have contributed to something, let's say in cybersecurity, try to publish in IEEE Transaction and Information Security or Transaction and Information Forensics and Security, like all these journals. So, and as far as the transactions are concerned, transactions require very high quality output from the technical idea, where normally two or three things are required. One thing is like a transaction require um, good technical contribution. It should have a good theoretical aspect as well, like you need to do theoretical modeling as well. Then you need to have a good simulation outcome. You need to compare and like you need to provide full-fledged simulation outcome. Let's say you cannot just write up some equation in MATLAB and publish your work. uh, Exceptions are always there depending upon the nature of the work, but usually. And the third thing is comparison with the most recent work. These three things are required usually in the transaction. So whenever you work for a technical work, these and you want to publish your work in a good transaction, these three things will be required. Then there are certain other journals of IEEE such as IEEE Network, IEEE Systems Journal, IEEE mm, IEEE Access, and certain other journals. So these are the journals which publish technical works as well, survey works as well, but they are not as high ranked as transactions. So transactions are for the pure technical work or the pure contribution, that is much in-depth contribution, and then and then there are journals and IEEE Access and certain other journals such as Open Journals of Computer Society, Open Journals of Communication Society, OJCS. So these are the open access journals, and then the others are subscription-based journals. So IEEE Access is not a very well reputed. When it started, it was a very highly ranked journal among the researchers, but due to its review process, it's not recognized as a very good journal. If you see the recent updates, I guess China has banned IEEE Access, IEEE not IEEE, IEEE Access. Like it has banned that they don't want any more publications from that specific journal. Like they won't recognize it as a journal. And certain other places have also like have their own issues with IEEE Access. So I would not recommend publishing in IEEE Access. It will not be a very good idea, but I will not say that it's very bad, but it's not recommended at all. That's what I would say.
Very specific. Thank you, sir. So we've got a question from the audience. So this is Faisal Uddin. Assalamu alaikum, sir. Can you suggest some topics or some recent works related to cyber physical systems?
Walaikum salam rahmatullah. And cyber physical systems is a very broad field. Um, it's hard to recommend some topics. Let's say cyber physical systems comprise of IoT, and then there's electric vehicles, then there's smart grid, then there's healthcare systems, industrial IoT, and all of these specific things have their subtopics. Let's say in smart grid, you have real-time billing, you have real-time reporting, then you have energy trading. In industrial IoT, you have manufacturing things, supply chain related stuff. in healthcare, you have healthcare IoT, like all these things. So it's very hard to suggest any specific topic, but indeed, cyber physical system is a good direction to work over. You can study all the sub directions of cyber physical systems. Some of them, which I mentioned earlier, IoT, healthcare, electric vehicles, smart grid, industrial IoT, and all these things. So you can try studying from there, and then keep on making a bit more specific rather than generalizing the things. So try to pick one specific domain, then study the articles, sub-direction of that specific domain. So that's what I can recommend, because it's a very generic question.
Thank you, sir. So, anyone there with any question? Okay, so, sir, what another suggestion for the audience? I think they don't. Most of them, they're the beginner, and they don't understand what to ask actually. So, to begin their research work, so what tools, softwares they need to be skilled in for the writing and modeling purpose, and the plagiarism checking. Most of them they use the Mendeley to tune it in. So, what software would you suggest to be skilled in for the research platform?
There's no compulsion in that. It depends upon the field. For the write-up or for the articles, I would recommend using LaTeX. Like LaTeX is a tool to organize your research in the best way. That's what I would say. LaTeX is, and nowadays there's Overleaf, which you can use online as well. So you can, and for the references, there are multiple ways, like others as well. So you can even use JabRef. So it's not compulsion. Some people even try to work over the Microsoft Word to write research papers, but I would recommend using LaTeX for the write-up. And for plagiarism, Turnitin is, I guess, the only art, software which is available. There are multiple others, but I'm not sure how effective they are. Even if you have written everything yourself, I believe you won't even need Turnitin. Like if you know that you have done your own experiments, your works are good, your results are good, and you have written everything yourself. Like you have not copied any lines from somewhere, and if you have taken the idea from somewhere, you have just cited it up. I don't think you even need Turnitin. But for the plagiarism check, I would say that Turnitin is the only way forward. That's what I believe. But you need a subscription from your institute. That's a tough thing. But overall, it's the way forward. For other simulations and all other things, it depends upon the field what you are working over. Let's say if you are working in networks, you need to have understanding of certain network simulators. If you are working in the power engineering, you need to know some other software such as ETAP and other softwares which will be required. So that depends upon the field. However, generically, I would recommend to have a good knowledge of programming. Like let's say you need to learn at least one language of programming that will help you throughout your life. For example, C++ or Java. C++ is easy. I guess majority of the students at least take certain courses while doing their engineering as well. So learning C++ will, or any other programming language will be a good addition. Let's say if they want to work over anything similar in their masters or in their PhD, that will help them out. So that's what I would recommend.
Okay, so thank you. If is there anyone to ask any question, or we'll just move to the happy ending? Okay, I think there is no one. So for the why we're arranging this actually, so for the audience, you should remember if you have a research paper publication in a journal, that means you have the contribution in international scientific community to explore more science phenomena and push up the science in another step forward. The same way the other scientists have been doing since maybe 1800, 1500 up to this present. So there are lots of global problem as well we are facing, After all, to solve these problems, researchers are doing hard work to solve this issue.